Not that Sabrina could really blame them, though. The kids in her classes were real pains in the butt. They slept through the lectures, and none of them had done their homework. Even in gym class, the kids staggered around exhausted. Unfortunately for them, gym class turned out to be the one place you really needed to be alert. Their teacher was Miss Spangler. Spangler the Strangler, as the kids called her, was a bulky little woman with a ponytail and an evil glint in her eye, who apparently knew how to teach just one game, dodgeball. Sabrina had played dodgeball many times at school in New York City. She considered herself to be pretty good at it. She remembered being the last kid standing many times, so in Miss Spangler's class, when the first rubber ball smacked her in the head and made her brains rattle in the skull, she knew that something about this dodgeball game was different. Getting knocked out of the game early gave Sabrina a chance to study the other kids. It was easy to see who the dangerous ones were, the only two really playing the game. Sabrina recognized one as the giggling idiot Toby from her homeroom class, but the other was a knuckle-dragging Hulk with ratty hair. To be honest, Sabrina wasn't sure if it was a boy or a girl. All she knew was that Toby and it were vicious. Together, they whipped balls at the other kids at alarming speeds. When a kid fell down, the duo would pummel him or haul mercilessly with the hard rubber balls. Even worse, Miss Spangler encouraged the craziness. She ran around the gymnasiums, blowing her whistle and pointing out the weaknesses of the players to Toby and the big it, urging them to target the pudgy, small, slow, and awkward. Whenever a kid was hit and eliminated, Miss Spangler clapped happily, like a child on Christmas morning. There was only one other kid in the class who had the energy to defend herself. Sabrina recognized her too. The pretty blonde from Sabrina's homeroom managed to duck out of the way of several shots, dodging and jumping until she too was struck and tossed out of the game. She joined the battered kids waiting on the sidelines. When she spotted Sabrina, she smiled and waved. It was the first act of kindness Sabrina had experienced the whole day. By lunchtime, Sabrina was bruised and belittled, but her main concern was Daphne. Sabrina could handle a screaming teacher or a bully, but her sister was only 7. This school would eat her alive. Once Sabrina had a tray of food, she searched the cafeteria for her little sister, fully expecting Daphne to be huddled in a corner, bawling her eyes out. She was stunned to find her sitting at a table packed with bright-eyed, happy kids, all hanging on her every word. As Sabrina approached the table, the children exploded with laughter, watching her sister pull a ruler out of her big beehive hair. "Daphne, you are the funniest person I've ever met," one of her little sisters said. "Are you okay?" Sabrina asked her sister. Daphne smiled and nodded. "Time of my life." Daphne was the hit of the second grade, and Sabrina wasn't about to take it away from her. Instead, she trudged through the cafeteria looking for an empty table. She thought she had found one, but just as she was about to sit down, 2 kids quickly slipped into the seats as if she wasn't there at all. She moved in the direction of another disaster table, but the same thing happened again. Sabrina was starting to wonder if she could eat standing up when she felt her feet come out from under her. Her tray flew forward, sending her lunch splattering across the cafeteria. She slammed to the ground hard, pounding her chin into the cold floor, and saw little mice explode in front of her eyes. Standing over her was the it from gym class. The kid was ape-like, with long, thick arms, a hulking body, and an underbite. When Sabrina spotted a little pink ribbon sticking out of its knotted hair, she finally realized it was a girl. "Oops," the girl grunted. Toby, the bug-eyed weirdo, was standing next to her, laughing. As embarrassed as she was, Sabrina wasn't at all surprised. She had been bullied before. The orphanage had been like a prison at times, and the new kids always got the worst of it until they proved they could give as well as they got. "You did it on purpose," she said as she calmly got to her feet. "What are you gonna do about it, Grim? Cry on me?" The big girl laughed. "If you know my name, then you should know I don't cry." Sabrina said, clenching her fist tightly and then socking the girl in the face. As the big goon fell backward, Sabrina's dreams of those school days fell with her. For when she turned to look around the cafeteria, the sleepy-faced kids from her class were now wide awake and in awe of her. "You shouldn't have done that," Toby hissed. "You're exactly right," Alva shouted. A meaty hand grabbed Sabrina's arm and dragged her away. It was Mr. Grumpner, and the vein on his forehead was throbbing. "She started it," Sabrina cried. "And I'm ending it," Grumpner shouted back. Sabrina sat in Mr. Sheepshanks' hot, windowless office waiting for her punishment. The mousy secretary with the thick glasses told her that the guidance counselor would be with her as soon as he was available. 3 hours later, he still hadn't shown up. Sabrina sat and reflected on her day so far. Apparently, the 6th grade was a nightmare, and no one had been courteous enough to let her know in advance. She thought it would be all books and tests, not guerrilla warfare. The kids were hateful. The teachers were despicable. It was just like being back in the orphanage. By the time Mr. Sheepshank and his smiley-faced bow tie showed up, Sabrina was seething with rage. Mr. Grumpner followed him into the office, looking indignant, and the two men sat down. "So, Sabrina," the counselor said, "do you want to tell us why Natalie is in the school infirmary with a black eye?" "I'll tell you why," Mr. Grumpner growled, nearly jumping out of his seat. "This one's trouble." Mr. Sheepshank sat back in his chair and licked his lips as if he were preparing for a big meal. "Go on, Sabrina. What happened?" "That ugly freak tripped me on purpose," Sabrina said, wiping the sweat from her brow. "That's what she's saying," Robin interrupted. "I saw the whole thing." "If you'd seen the whole thing, then we wouldn't be sitting here," Sabrina snapped, surprised by how quickly her anger had boiled over. Her head was starting to pound again. Maybe she was getting sick. "Listen to that attitude," her teacher bellowed. "I don't know how school works in the big city, but in my classroom you will respect me or else." "Yeah, I've seen what or else means in your classroom," the girl said. "I've seen how you teach children to respect you. You insult them, make fun of them, and drag them around. I dare you to try on me. I just dare you." Mr. Grumpner backed away as if he had just stumbled upon a hornet's nest. "Are you going to let her talk to me like that?" he whined to the counselor. "I believe that letting your feelings out is healthy," Mr. Sheepshank said. "Sabrina has a right to defend herself." "Save your new age psychobabble," the teacher grumbled. "What are you going to do to punish her?" "Punish me?" Sabrina cried. "I didn't start the fight." "Mr. Grumpner, I think we need a breather," the counselor said as he rose from his chair. He crossed the room, took the grouchy teacher by the arm, and led him to the door. "If you spot any more slugfests, please be sure to bring them to my attention immediately." "You didn't tell me what you were going to do with her," Grumpner argued, but Mr. Sheepshank just pushed him out of the room and closed the door in his face. "Discipline is the backbone of education," the teacher shouted through the door. "We'll see what Principal Hammerton thinks about this." The guidance counselor ignored the teacher's threat and returned to his chair with a broad smile. "Interesting first day you are having," he said. "I didn't start that fight, but I'm not going to let someone pick on me either," Sabrina said. "I'm not asking you to," Sheepshank replied. "I think Natalie got what she had coming to her. She's been pushing kids around since kindergarten. I bet it felt pretty good to knock her down." Sabrina was stunned. "Adults always said you should try to talk out your problems first." "Aren't you supposed to tell me that fighting isn't the answer?" she asked. "Let's just pretend I did," Mr. Sheepshank continued with a wink. "Sabrina, I know being in the 6th grade isn't easy. There are lots of things that aren't fair, like a bully picking on you. It's a natural human emotion to get angry. So what are you supposed to do? Bottle it up? Well, we all know what happens when you shake up a bottle of soda. It explodes all over the place when you open it. I think feelings are the same way. You've got to let them out when you're having them, or you're just going to explode later on. New Age psychobabble or not, Sabrina liked what Mr. Sheepshank was saying. She hadn't had an adult actually listen to her so well in a long time. In fact, he seemed almost eager to hear her thoughts. I think we'll forget all about this, the counselor continued. You've been sitting here for several hours and have had plenty of time to think about what happened. Sabrina got up from her seat, then paused and asked, Mr. Sheepshank, does it get any better? He laughed. I wish I could say it does, but don't worry. Someday this place will be nothing but an ancient memory. Sabrina looked up at the clock. School had been over for 5 minutes. Daphne would be waiting for her. I have to go meet my sister. Of course, Mr. Sheepshank said. But before you go, I just want to remind you that my door is always open. I'm a pretty good listener. Sabrina nodded. I'll see you tomorrow then, she said. I'm on the edge of my seat. The guidance counselor replied. The girl nodded and stepped into the hallway. Naturally, the bully was waiting by some lockers. Her left eye had a black and purple bruise around it. When she spotted Sabrina, she turned and punched a locker door. The impact was so great it dented the door badly. Happy with her handiwork, the big goon smiled, pointed at Sabrina, and shuffled down the hallway. Great. I've been here less than 8 hours and I already have a mortal enemy, Sabrina thought. I wonder what Tuesday will be like. Don't worry, Sabrina. Tomorrow's a new day, a voice behind her said. Sabrina spun around and found the pretty blonde girl from her homeroom and gym class. That's what I'm worried about. The girl laughed. I'm Bella, she said, and don't worry, not everyone's like Natalie. Just then, Daphne rushed down the hallway to meet them. She had her coat and mittens on, and a couple of books under her arm. I've had the greatest day of my entire life, she screamed, and she hugged Sabrina tightly. We spent the first part of the morning making papier-mâché hats, and then when the hats were dry, we put them on and learned about what kind of people might have worn them. I had George Washington's hat. The little girl paused to catch her breath. Daphne, this is Bella, Sabrina said, introducing the two. She's in my homeroom. You made a friend, Daphne said, giving her sister another hug. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Cute kid, Bella said, giggling. I gotta get going. See you tomorrow. Sabrina nodded and watched the girl disappear down the hallway. Maybe there was a chance of having a normal friend after all. Did you know that George Washington didn't really have wooden teeth? That's a myth. Miss White said his teeth were made from ivory and bone, 'cause Daphne paused and looked around. Then she cupped her hand around her sister's ear and finished her sentence. She actually knew him, but she didn't tell the class that. She just told me. Then Daphne pulled away and returned to her normal, excited tone. Then we learned all about chimpanzees. Did you know that chimpanzees aren't actually monkeys? I didn't know that. Chimpanzees are so punk rock. Punk rock? You know, cool. Where did you hear that? Sabrina laughed. Julie Melfi, she's my class. She's very punk rock, her sister replied. That's stupid. You're stupid, Daphne shot back, and very unpunk rock. How's your day? Horrible, Sabrina grumbled. Come on, I have to go get my coat from my locker. It's upstairs. The girls climbed the steps to the second floor just as Toby came running down to them. He nearly knocked them over. Out of the way, Lightning Bolt's head, he shouted, then laughed his annoying little laugh. He ran past and disappeared down the hall. That kid is so unpunk rock, Sabrina thought. And that's the end of the video, and also